But I did care about seeing the Undisputed Era. And 20 minutes into the show, it started and the stars showed up. You're telling me they couldn't have put the Undisputed Era segment on first to hook people and then put the girls' match on? But nevertheless, they did a live promo in the ring as last we left NXT. McAfee and his gang of heels were taking credit for killing the Undisputed Era, blah, blah, blah. Adam Cole comes back and cuts a great promo. They promoted the War Games that they've got coming up. Roddy has even found a tone where he can chime things in, and he always struggled with speaking. But Cole did great because you can tell that a writer has come up with this topic, but he makes it sound natural and he uses his own words. And so it wasn't egregious sitting there, you think, oh, somebody told us got to say this. You can buy it from him. And O'Reilly, who also used to struggle somewhat with promos, but he has to be the one to face Pete Dunne tonight for the War Games advantage. Then they used to just flip a coin. Now they got to have a ladder match. I can understand having a match to determine who gets the advantage in the War Games and the staggered entrances, but they got to have a ladder match. So we've got a hat on a hat, but at least it's stars. So I'm not going to argue too much. They did a babyface promo without being cutesy babyfaces. They just fired people up for the match and said what they were going to do and they didn't say anything that the Undisputed Era shouldn't say, but they didn't go out of their way to be heelish to do it. It fit the position. They're babyfaces without changing themselves. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Obviously, them being babyfaces was cemented when JJ won the coin toss at the end of the episode. But, the big thing, we haven't seen them in a while. While Kyle O'Reilly wasn't as good at reciting material that he was given, Adam Cole, top 5 promos in the business. He's so good. And everything he says comes across as he is saying it. As if he is saying it, I should say. He doesn't seem like he's reciting lines, even though I'm sure he is. He is really, really good on the mic, and it stands out. We haven't seen him in several weeks. We haven't heard him talk in a while. Really good. This was great.
Well, and in all fairness, I've heard Kyle be better in NXT when he's more fired up. Here he was trying to be the serious guy. I want to take this responsibility. And I think Adam is natural no matter what. I think Kyle was finding his groove there as being kind of that smarmy-faced little fucking prick heel. And he might have to figure out a little more about how to speak in his new role here. But yeah, at least they've got a long track record of being presented as stars, as somebody in the environment there, top guys, however you want to say it. And they're talking about top guys. With McAfee around, that's instantly, whoever's with him is instantly a top guy. So, hey, actually, a great wrestling promo broke out that made me interested in seeing this fucking match they're talking about. I'm sure between now and then, somebody will screw it up. But then we go to, was that your final thoughts on that, by the way? It was a nice promo.
It was good. Adam Cole is fantastic on the mic. Whatever he lacks in size and the gravitas that comes with the size, he more than makes up for with his ability to look directly into the camera and talk. He's fantastic.
Yeah. And he works like somebody, and at least he has, I think these days it's better to have a little height than a little weight. Because if you've got a little height, nobody's big these days, so they can take you being thin. But these short guys, I just, I'm seeing a lot of guys that ain't scraping 5'6" these days. But anyway, the next match was one of those that I had mixed feelings about because it's Timothy Thatcher against Kushida. Is Kushida going to wrestle a long match on every NXT program from now until the end of time?
In his jeans, yes.
In his jeans and sneakers. Austin Theory quit the business. But we got to watch Kushida apparently he did quit, and I don't blame him.
Did he really quit?
Well, he said, I quit and left, and we haven't seen him or heard from him since. They're showing me fucking Kushida every week, but I can't see Austin Theory at all. Know what? If I was Austin Theory, I'd quit too if this guy was on TV every week, and I wasn't. And I like Timothy Thatcher, and immediately Ciampa comes down and sits ringside with a chair. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this for the interaction eventually between Ciampa and Thatcher. And I figure this is a way to get them involved. But any new viewer would say, scoffingly say that, there are no new viewers, right? But any new viewer would say, why is this wrestler fighting a kid in blue jeans from the crowd? And by the way, Steen was on commentary with Beth and Whoosy Whatsy.
Vic Joseph.
There you go. He does great promos for himself, but as an announcer, he is blasé and headed toward completely bored. He doesn't get excited. He doesn't treat anything seriously. He just makes little witticisms in a kind of a tone of voice like this, where I don't, was there?
It's a Canadian thing.
But he doesn't need to be doing it. Did you find any pithiness in his commentary?
I got to admit, I wasn't bothered by his commentary. I kind of preferred it as opposed to fucking Bad News Barrett screaming at me the whole show. Well,
but wouldn't we all just like it if somebody'd actually do it right?
Yeah, I didn't think he was terrible. Look, he has a different cadence. He's lackadaisical is kind of his thing.
Lackadaisical. There you go. That's a good word. I don't want lackadaisical announcers. I don't want phony over-the-top phony announcers. I want announcers that are really excited. Anyway, he seemed lackadaisical. Once again, Kushida would be not only appear normal size, but be the best worker on the roster over at All Petite. But I'm just waiting for Thatcher and Ciampa to get into it, and they didn't. Thatcher got out-wrestled. It's his own gimmick. He's the shooter, the hooker, the stretcher, the mat wrestler, the fucking Thatch as Thatch can. He got out-wrestled and manhandled by a guy a foot shorter and 50 pounds lighter that will most probably never even make the main roster, much less be a star on it. Will Kushida ever be a star on the flagship program or even SmackDown, which is secondary? Maybe we know people are in the building. And anybody can be a star.
Yeah, I would be surprised.
But anyway, I'm thinking, okay, when are they going to get to, because they're making Kushida look very good, so when are they going to get to something interesting here? Here's the finish. Ciampa stood up out of his chair. Thatcher looked at him, then turned and went to pick Kushida up, and Kushida rolled him up and got a double wrist lock and tapped Thatcher out. And Ciampa smiled and walked off. Tapped Thatcher out. That's his gimmick. Of course it would give Thatcher a reason to be pissed at Ciampa if he'd even done anything that would have distracted or caused a normal person to fucking lose, and just not because it was written in the finish. But it also, you just had fucking the catch as catch can wrestling expert tap out to a fucking child. It's his own gimmick. What am I missing here, Brian?
I can't explain the booking of Timothy Thatcher at all. When we first started paying attention to him, he defeated Matt Riddle in that fight cage thing right before Matt Riddle went up to the main roster to lose his first name. Fight Pit. And since that time, they have booked him like shit.
His students bow up and get offense on him, and he chickens out and bails out. Kushida taps him out, which is like fucking, it's like somebody beat Hulk Hogan with the leg drop, for fuck's sake. You what? Do you see anything I missed there?
I don't think so. No, I have not.
We move on. I said this was going to be brief.